climate change should make you think home ownership. Did you write that?
Yes, I did, Senator.
It's pretty bold. You own a home?
I do, in a flood zone.
Have you sold it?
Have I sold my home?
Yeah.
I live in my home, sir.
Oh, well, you're telling everybody else to sell theirs. You're a climate extremist, aren't you, Professor?
Certainly not, Senator.
You are a political extremist, aren't you?
Certainly not, Senator.
On July 9th of 2024, did you tweet the following, quote, honestly, the biggest long-term political problem the Democrats have is that they don't know how to talk to low-information morons, close quote.
I don't believe those are my words, Senator. I'd have to be able to see them if you would share that with me.
Yeah, here it is, big as Dallas.
What you just watched is a perfect example of why Senate hearings still matter and why Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana continues to stand out in these rooms. This was not grandstanding. It was not bullying. It was a senator doing exactly what taxpayers expect, challenging bold claims with direct questions and refusing to let expert witnesses hide behind credentials and buzzwords. What stood out to me immediately is that Senator Kennedy never pretended to be a climate scientist. Instead, he exposed how confidently some witnesses speak outside their lane while influencing policies that affect real people, homeowners, insurance markets, and everyday Americans. When someone tells millions of people that climate change should make them rethink owning a home, but still lives comfortably in a flood zone themselves, that contradiction deserves to be questioned. Senator Kennedy questioned it plainly and without apology. If you are watching Congress Lens because you want clarity instead of noise, you are in the right place. I am Audrey. If you enjoy breakdowns like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's watch the full exchange, and then I will give you my full reaction.
And that to Senator Kennedy of Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Keyes, Professor Keyes, are you clairvoyant?
Thanks for the question, Senator. No, I'm not.
I'm not either. So when you make predictions, these are my words, not yours. When you make predictions that climate change is going to destroy home ownership and the insurance market and otherwise cause the earth to spin off its axis, those predictions are made on the basis of climate models, is that right?
The forward-looking forecasts are based on models. My discussion was retrospective and focused on the data we've collected over the last 5 years.
If those models are wrong, then your predictions would be impacted, wouldn't they?
Senator, I would say that the famous quote is that all models are wrong, but some are useful. And in this case, there's a preponderance of evidence that suggests the direction that climate's headed.
Methanethiol?
I'm not aware of that term, Senator.
I'm surprised. I've read a lot of your writings. You seem to fancy yourself as a climate expert.
Senator, I'm an expert on housing markets, mortgage markets, and insurance markets. I'm not a climate scientist.
If I told you that methanethiol is a sulfur-based aerosol gas, kind of smells like rotten cabbage, that is produced by microscopic plankton in all of our oceans, which cover 75% of the Earth's surface. Would you have reason to disagree with me?
I certainly wouldn't, Senator. I'm here to talk about insurance.
If I told you that this methanethanol is an aerosol, which escapes into our environment, it oxidizes and produces particles that substantially reflect the sun's radiation and heat and prevents climate change. Would you have a reason to disagree with me?
I wouldn't, Senator. I'm here to talk about the insurance crisis.
I know you don't want to talk about things that undermine your confident assertions, but this is important. The Institute of Marine Sciences and the Cabrera Institute of Physical Chemistry just a few days ago published a startling study. It's being widely reported. And it found that while scientists in these climate change models on which you rely have always known about methanethiol, that now science has discovered ways to better measure it, and that it demonstrates that there's 25% more methanethiol being released into our atmosphere than any scientist ever thought. And that's going to have a huge impact on cooling the Earth, and we're going to have to recalibrate all of our climate change models. I suggest you read it, Doc. I see this essay that you wrote in the New York Times, appropriate New York Times. Climate change should make you think home ownership. Did you write that?
Yes, I did, Senator.
It's pretty bold. You own a home?
I do, in a flood zone.
Have you sold it?
Have I sold my home?
Yeah.
I live in my home, sir.
Oh, well, you're telling everybody else to sell theirs. You're a climate extremist, aren't you, Professor?
Certainly not, Senator.
You are a political extremist, aren't you?
Certainly not, Senator.
On July 9th of 2024, did you tweet the following, quote, "Honestly, the biggest long-term political problem the Democrats have is that they don't know how to talk to low-information morons," close quote.
I don't believe those are my words, Senator. I'd have to be able to see them if you would share that with me.
Yeah, here it is, big as Dallas.
I don't believe those are my words, Senator.
You tweeted them.
I don't believe that I did.
Yes, you did.
I may have liked someone else's tweet or retweeted someone else's tweet.
Do you
Those
often
are not my words.
like tweets you don't agree with?
Those are not my words, Senator.
Yeah, but you tweeted them in approval, didn't you? You
Those are
can't
not-
make this cat walk backwards, Professor.
Those are
On
not
July
my,
16th,
those are not my words, Senator.
2024, did you tweet the following, quote, "A big part of modern right-wing culture is this frisson of the illicit. The reading of this or that writer or account that are outre in whatever ways, fascist, race IQ obsessives, Holocaust denial adjacent, people with very weird sexual fixations and pathologies they turn into their own philosophy, etc. A lot of them, and I think this is true of Vance, and definitely true of the creepy Silicon Valley MAGA weirdos, have simply pickled their brains," end quote.
Again, Senator, those are not my words, and I did not
Tweeted them,
tweet.
Professor.
I did not tweet that, sir. Those are not
Senator
my
Kennedy,
words.
I mean, let me make this last point. You've got
for more
a lot
than
of
2
nerve.
minutes over your time. We
You've
have
got
other
a lot of
senators
nerve,
waiting.
Professor, coming
You
here
always go over your time so that I have to call
and
it
lecturing
for
us
you.
about Holocaust denial
But
being
really,
from the University of Pennsylvania.
You have other senators who are waiting for their time, and you're well over yours.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kane.
All right, now that we have watched the entire exchange, let's talk about what actually happened here. because the headlines alone do not tell the full story. Professor Benjamin Keyes came into this hearing positioned as an authority. He wrote a New York Times essay arguing that climate change should fundamentally reshape how Americans think about homeownership. That is not a minor claim. That kind of argument influences fear, public policy, and insurance decisions across the country. Senator John Kennedy did what very few senators consistently do. He slowed the conversation down and demanded clarity. One of the most important moments was when Senator Kennedy asked whether Professor Keyes' predictions relied on climate models. Professor Keyes admitted that they did. That matters because models are tools, not facts. Even Professor Keyes acknowledged that all models are wrong, even if some can be useful. Senator Kennedy was not denying climate change. He was pointing out that policies based on predictions deserve scrutiny, especially when those predictions could destabilize insurance markets and push people out of homeownership. Then came the moment everyone is talking about. Senator Kennedy introduced research on naturally occurring aerosol gases produced by ocean plankton, research suggesting these particles reflect sunlight and may cool the Earth more than previously measured. Pay attention to what happened next. Professor Benjamin Keyes did not challenge the science. He did not refute the study. He did not say it was incorrect. Instead, he repeatedly said, "I'm here to talk about insurance." And that response proved Senator Kennedy's point. You cannot confidently warn Americans about catastrophic climate outcomes while refusing to engage with emerging science that complicates the narrative. You do not get to borrow climate authority when it supports your argument and then abandon it when it challenges your conclusions. Then came one of the most revealing moments of the hearing. Senator Kennedy confronted Professor Keyes with his own public writing and asked a simple question. If climate change should make people rethink homeownership, do you still own your home? The answer was yes. That is not a small detail. That is a clear contradiction. When influential voices tell everyday Americans to sacrifice while remaining insulated themselves, it deserves to be called out. Finally, there was the issue of political extremism. Senator Kennedy raised tweets attributed to Professor Benjamin Keyes that were openly contemptuous toward voters and deeply partisan in tone. Whether Professor Keyes personally wrote them, liked them, or retweeted them, the point was not semantics. The point was credibility. If you present yourself as a neutral expert shaping public policy, your public commentary matters. Senator Kennedy was not attacking personal beliefs. He was questioning whether ideology was influencing testimony presented as objective analysis. The way this exchange ended says a lot. Professor Benjamin Keyes became defensive. Time ran out. The chair intervened. Senator Kennedy was criticized for going over time, even though he was the only one pressing for clear answers. That tells you everything you need to know. Senator John Kennedy did not go scorched earth for entertainment. He did it because vague expertise, ideological framing, and fear-driven predictions should never go unchallenged in a Senate hearing. Whether you agree with Senator Kennedy politically or not, this is what accountability looks like. This is Congress Lens. I'm Audrey. Thanks for watching.